Myospasms are rare in dentistry. Surprised? You heard me right. Myospasms is one of the most commonly misused terms in dentistry. We have traditionally used this term, or rather misused this term, to indicate any restriction in jaw movement and any muscle pain disorder. The result of misusing the term myospasm for muscle pain disorders has been that we have considered the muscle pain disorders to be because of spasms, that is contraction, and since there is contraction, we have thought that we need relaxation of muscles to produce pain relief. And that is why we have administered muscle relaxants to treat these myospasms, only to realize that muscle relaxants have no use in all these muscle pain disorders. Let's understand the difference between myospasms and the commonly encountered muscle disorders in dentistry in this video. So let's get started. Myospasms are CNS-induced involuntary tonic muscle contractions. In simple terms, these are cramps, that is, sudden shortening of muscle length. All of you have had a cramp in your lifetime. Remember the one with the little finger where it turned over the another and you couldn't move it at all. That is myospasm. And that is the same thing that happens with muscles of mastication when they are under myospasms. Clinically, they may present as a sudden change in occlusion with severe restriction in mandibular movements and severe pain. The patient will be in a state where he would not be able to move the jaws and tell you what is happening to him. This episode will last for seconds or a few minutes only. Doesn't it sound like seizures? It's the same. The only thing is that it is restricted to masticatory muscles. It may also present as clinically invisible change in occlusion, where the patient will tell you that he feels that his bite feels heavier on the back teeth on both the sides or on one of the sides. Note that the sudden shortening of muscle length lasts for seconds or minutes only, but the subtle feeling of change in occlusion, which feels like a heavier bite on one side or both sides, can last for days together unless treated. Make sure to differentiate these myospasms from change in occlusion produced by disc derangement disorders. Now tell me, have you really seen myospasms in your clinic? Then why use the term? If you have seen myospasms in your clinic, please beware. These may be an indication of a developing CNS disorder in your patient. Sometimes it may precede a stroke in your patient, or sometimes it may be just a result of prolonged use and metabolic changes in muscles of mastication of the patient. Now, before we move to the more common muscle disorders that we encounter in day-to-day practice, let me answer the question that is ringing in your head. How do we treat these myospasms? The acute management of myospasm includes reducing pain and passively lengthening the muscle. So, you have to anesthetize the muscle that is involved by lignocaine with adrenaline injection, or you can apply ice or a vapocoolant spray and massage the area and passively lengthen the muscles to its full length. This will release the spasm of the muscle for that time duration. But remember that these myospasms have a central nervous system origin and they may actually be an indication of a developing CNS disorder or actually an upcoming stroke. It is your responsibility as a dentist to refer this patient to a neurophysician or a general physician for the needful. If not a part of such serious conditions, and if resultant of only muscle overuse or metabolic changes in muscle, the permanent treatment of myospasm will be by removing the etiologic factor completely. Remember that even in these myospasms, true myospasms, the oral muscle relaxants have no role. The muscle relaxants at oral doses are not sufficient enough to produce any clinically relevant muscle relaxation. It's of no use of administering these drugs to these patients. The only little effect that you see with muscle relaxants is due to the sedation that they produce. Now let's talk about the more commonly encountered muscle pain disorders in dentistry. Remember that there is no spasm, no shortening of length, no increase in EMG activity in any of these muscle disorders. The restriction in movement that you see in these muscle disorders is secondary to pain or because antagonistic group of muscles are acting together. The pain in these muscle disorders is either a protective reflex trying to protect the affected part or result of local metabolic changes or neurogenic inflammation. Complicated? Not so complicated. Let me make it simple to understand for you. To begin with, let me tell you that there are 4 different types of muscle pain disorders that you encounter in your daily dental practice. The first and the most common is protective co-contraction. It is the pain and restriction in movement that you see when you place a high restoration or a crown recently in a patient. This is the pain and restriction in mouth opening that you also see in your patients who come with pericoronitis or a dry socket or a large ulcer. You know that a high crown or a high restoration produces injury to periodontal ligament. A painful periodontal ligament or a pericoronitis or a dry socket or a painful large ulcer all send painful impulses to the central nervous system. The central nervous system recognizes them as injuries or threat of injuries and increases the resting tone of muscles. It causes protective co-contraction, that is simultaneous contraction in antagonistic group of muscles, so that it may resist a sudden change in length of the muscle. So the sudden opening or closing of mandible is restricted to protect the oral apparatus. How do we treat them? Simple. Remove the cause and the problem goes away. The second most common muscle disorder that you encounter almost daily in your dental practice is local muscle soreness. This is the pain and restriction in mouth opening that the patient reports when you have given inferior alveolar nerve block that by mistake injured the medial pterygoid muscle in the last appointment. This is also the pain and restriction that the patient reports once he has chewed chewy foods like chewing gums, or he has unaccustomedly used his muscles like during mastication of betel nut for the first time, or when he has bruxed or clenched unusually more during a certain period of stress. This is also the pain and restriction in mouth opening that the patient experiences after a long dental appointment where he had opened mouth for a long period of time. This is basically muscle fatigue. The same question, how do you treat it? How do you treat muscle fatigue? You give rest to the muscle, you do not exercise it, you institute physical self-regulation techniques, and you give time-bound analgesics, and the problem resolves in some time. The third type of muscle disorder that involves the muscles of face and neck is less commonly reported to us but more commonly reported to neurophysicians. It is trigger point pain. Why it is less commonly reported to us and more commonly reported to neurophysicians is because trigger point pain presents as headaches. Experience the headaches that you have after a long dental appointment in a wrong neck posture? These are also the headaches that you experience after you sit for long hours in front of your mobile phones or on your laptops with a wrong neck posture. These are also the headaches that the patient reports after a long dental appointment with an incorrect neck posture or with excessively prolonged mouth opening. How do you treat these trigger point headaches? Just find the trigger points and diffuse them. The headaches will be gone. The fourth is a very commonly reported muscle pain disorder to us and very difficult to manage. It is chronic centrally mediated myalgia. It is reported by patient as constant pain that has lasted for months or years together. This pain may be accompanied by a feeling of swelling, warmth, or a burning sensation in the affected area. This pain is usually indicated in a diffused area by the patient. This is also accompanied by hyperalgesia, allodynia, protective co-contraction, or hypoesthesia. How do you treat them? In simple words, I can only tell you that find the cause, remove the cause, institute physical self-regulation, give time-bound analgesics, manage stress, manage the sleep cycle, and reduce central sensitization. Amazed? I was when I started understanding, diagnosing, and treating these disorders. I hope you understand that the common pain problems that we encounter in our day-to-day practice are neither myospasms nor a single entity. These are a range of disorders, each with a different clinical presentation and a different treatment protocol. This may seem a little overwhelming and difficult at first sight, but believe me, it is not. Moreover, we are the only specialization who are well equipped and trained to diagnose these disorders and treat them well. If we will not, who will do it?